naturally has an affinity for creation care of God's creation. And yet, they began to see environmentalists as people that were putting, nature above people, and they just didn't see themselves reflected in it. And my related point is right now I'm seeing we're in a situation where resources are being depleted dramatically, and we're seeing what I think are the first stages of a collapse of our industrial civilization. My concern is that with oppositional groups from the environmental standpoint taking actions against corporate power structures is setting themselves up to be a scapegoat. And as everything collapses as it's doing, people are going to look for, pointing fingers, who's responsible. And I think it would be very easy to point to, these environmentalists that, are against jobs and against the economy. Yeah. So I guess my question is, just if you have a response to that, and how can we engage larger segments of the population without compromising what we really believe to be true and the deep care and concern we have for the planet?
Yeah. That's a tough one, and that's why I want to emphasize at this moment in time the building of that 98% of the movement that does support work for the 1 to 2%, because let's just say, for instance, that we counted the Earth Liberation Front as the 1 to 2%, and they're acting without a 98% there, so they do get put on the news, and this is a current day example of what you're talking about from the 70s, just that divide happening, and it's given a bad name to environmentalism. And I feel like one of the projects that the 98% has is, and I know a lot of people who have passions in media and in the ways that information is dispelled throughout communities, it's going to be up to them or up to the people in those positions to kind of figure out how to soften the oppositional aspect of the movement to the people that would be most turned off by it. That's one answer to the question. The other answer is, like I said in my presentation, I don't think we need the majority to stop industrial civilization from killing the planet. And so if we see that the majority is going to be a hindrance to the minority doing the work that they need to do, then I think we're going to put more effort into that media work. But if we can find a way to do it, without, which again, this is all new territory, kind of. Well, not new, because you were in it yourself, but sort of reforging a place for radical environmentalism. It's another project that I don't have a really good answer for. It's going to be up to us to decide what it looks like,
From a practical standpoint, this project that's going on right now, the coal trains and the terminal, I don't know if your organization is involved yet, but the money behind this movement, there's two main organizations. Are you aware of the SSA, Grain, which is one of the largest stevedoring companies in the world, and then the BS, Burlington Northern, which is part of a very large organization, and owned by one of the wealthiest men in the world. I mean, it's a perfect storm for your organization to get involved. And the fact that it's basically coal export, the natural resource that you're referring to, that is limited anyway.
Right.
That's probably something that we need for our own security at some point anyway, to be exporting it to China is sort of silly. They're smart enough to preserve their own and buy ours. If your organization is not involved in that, you really ought to learn about it and get it. The second one, there's another one going on in Bellingham, and I don't think Bellingham can do anything about that. Whatcom County can, they have to issue some permits. But another one in Bellingham, and if you have some work, if you've done work with the city council, is the overwater walkway over Boulevard, from Boulevard Park to Cornwall Lawn.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
I am, yeah.
Did you know that they're requesting a federal, what they call, some kind of permit where they basically enable to basically kill the mammals? Because that may have something to do with the pilings that they're going to do for 6 consecutive weeks. They're going to be installing the pilings.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to get a permit to kill all the mammals within a half mile of that, and they've applied for that permit. So if you're really concerned about light, like you said, and your organization is, it's the perfect place to get involved, because that has to be approved locally.
Yeah.
We're spending $4 million of the Greenways funds that we've approved to basically kill mammals, in Bellingham Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like something that your organization would want to get involved in, and you could have an impact just by going through city council.
Absolutely.
They have to approve the expenditure of that for those funds.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know about that detail. Did you write that down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wanted to comment on a couple of observations. Just my personal philosophy, I don't think that governments can solve our problems for us, because we are all part of the solution. We have to walk the talk. I've been a long time activist at the Sierra Club. We are working on the deep water coal facility, and that's been taken to a national level committee that is pretty active. Our local Bellingham group is definitely on board with that. They don't have any of their permits yet. That's where they're going to target, stopping them from getting those permits. And it's going to be an uphill battle, absolutely. It's not easy. But the other thing that we didn't really talk about, and I'd like to, because it's something we see within the Sierra Club that we really struggle mightily with. We don't have any problem networking with other groups. We do a good job with that.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, just 15th of February, I was down in Olympia for our environmental lobby day. That's anybody that can get there is welcome to come in and take political training to how you work with the government infrastructure and try to change laws.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people here have ever decided they're going to step up and run for an office, be on a council. I've got friends in Ferndale that are just, we're changing the political map out there by changing up who's on our council.
Mm-hmm.
But education. A lot of people aren't talking about that, but we need to do a better job of not losing our funding and getting the type of environmental education in the schools the kids need. And I've done some of this work myself, to go in and volunteer, lead a stream team, and teach kids the value of the natural world, because they're not getting that, and they're the future.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to change a lot of our overall political scene. So,
I think it's very important.
the other thing we have done is really had a lot of outreach with stakeholders and leaders. The Sierra Club has got a pretty good active working relationship all over the country with a lot of people to say, hey, we're on the same side of this. We all want the same thing. Some folks have said, well, yeah, but you guys are anti-population growth, blah, blah, blah. Not really, So.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's important work.
I have a question. You mentioned prison involvement, and I know our prison system needs a great overhaul, but can you help me understand that link?
Sure. If there are people who decide to take action, I guess underground action, and they get caught, a part of what a culture of occupation does, or a culture of resistance, is that those cultures are there to support those people, because prison is not pretty, and a culture that supports prisoners is, I think, a good culture of resistance. And so I mentioned, corresponding with them, keeping them in tune with what's going on, anything you can do to support them. I was involved for a while in Books to Prisoners. I don't know about that. It's just
Great program.
sort of a fun thing to do too.
Run out of the back of Rocket Donuts.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't.
All the books are back behind Rocket
Oh,
Donuts.
cool. Okay. Yeah, so that's why.
Can I make a comment about that?
Sure.
If anyone wants to start writing to a prisoner, there's the website writeaprisoner.com.
Yeah.
And there's just lists of hundreds and hundreds of people who, many of which aren't corresponding with anybody. They have no contact. So go to the website, and it's really easy. I just started, and it's great. So check it out.
And there are other websites too that even focus more on environmental prisoners too. So.
I just want to make a comment also about what you said about education in schools. Rather than starting another program for that, if you are interested, we have Resources has a whole program, the Cool School Challenge, that's working on changing legislation as well as doing the on-the-ground work of going into classrooms and teaching the students. So if you want to get on board with somebody who's already created the infrastructure and is doing the 98% support work, that's somewhere where you can start.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate the space you all gave me and let me practice and stuff like that. So.
Thanks, Dillon.
Thanks for the presentation.